The Job Insanity Podcast with Erik ten Haven. Episode number
3.
Let the show begin.
Today I'm talking to Jochen Siepmann. Jochen and I know each other from a property investment training and we both attended in Singapore. And we're actually in touch regularly to see how we're both doing on our property journey. After a successful career in finance industry spanning across Europe and Asia within private banking and investment IT, Jochen is now a mentor, a trainer and a public speaker. He loves to share his vast knowledge, experience and expertise with his clients so they too can enjoy a passive income that sets them financially free and enables them to potentially retire early, take care of their families and have more time available. This is exactly why I want to talk to Jochen. I think he's on a fantastic mission. Jochen is the author of several books and he helps people succeed in their investment journey with his Property Apprentice property investment program. And this is also the title of one of his books. His mission is to make 1,000 people financially free. I really love that. Welcome to the show, Jochen.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Erik. Glad to be here.
Nice to speak to you again.
Yes, it's always good, yes.
Yeah, great. So let's start off, Jochen, but I gave you a bit of an intro about you, but, I'd love to hear a little bit more about yourself and, some more stories about how you came to where you are today.
Yeah, sure. Well, let me start, but keep it brief. A long time ago, I originally come from Germany, and as you just mentioned, was working in the banks, and my current, at the time, employer in 1996, which was Deutsche Bank, sent me to Singapore on a 1-year assignment, which up to now, 21 years later, is still ongoing. So I guess it's never going to finish. And at the time, of course, working in a bank, I was an employee, and that's how people do, right? They're being taught, go to school, get an education, get a job, save some money, retire, blah blah blah. And that was my route too. And I guess nothing wrong with that, except there's a lot of things wrong with it.
So what's wrong with it in your opinion?
Well, what's wrong with it is you are selling your time against some money, which admittedly was reasonably good money in the bank, the salary, but you're a slave to employer, you work for others, you fulfill other people's goals instead of your own, and you cannot make decisions regarding your time by yourself. Employer tells you to come, you have to come, you want to leave, you cannot leave. There you go, right? And then it's not scalable. I only realized that obviously later, which maybe I'll come to in a later part of this interview. So, but that's the default position most people have. And whether you call it job or whether you call it a small business, like a one-man show, it's the same thing, except you don't have a boss. But if you don't work, you get no money, right?
That's right.
So I kept working in the banks for another 5 in Germany, about 15 years in Asia and Singapore here. And about now it's 4 years ago in 2013. Then because of a significant downsizing of the bank, I got retrenched. Mm-hmm. At the time, I was very unhappy about it, but now in hindsight, 4 years later, was actually the best thing that could happen to me. Yeah, people might usually are surprised when I say that. Well, why is it good? But now I can really live the life that I want to, do the things that I want to, and do them when I want to, which is, in my personal opinion, and I think you're sort of in the same boat, Erik, is my most important to me, right? The time, freedom. If I want to go to the beach on a Wednesday afternoon, I go to the beach on a Wednesday afternoon, right? Or if I want to travel to Bangkok tomorrow or tonight, I'll do it.
Yes. Yeah, that's fantastic. How, this time that you got retrenched, to the point where you decided, okay, it's actually something good for me and I'm going to, turn this into something positive. Mm-hmm. How did that work for you? Was it a difficult period? How did you get to the conclusion to start a business and start being independent from an employer?
Yeah. So, while I was still in a bank, one of the things I really enjoyed doing was scuba diving. And as you probably know, it's kind of a pretty expensive hobby.
Yes.
And so I thought, how can I, instead of paying, get paid to do what I love? So that was sort of my first thing. And I became a scuba diving instructor. And I opened a small little independent scuba diving school in which I taught diving to a very small number of people, not as a big business, but as a hobby. But I got paid for doing what I love, and it was sort of my first taste of it, sort of lick blood, if you like, so to speak. Not literally, obviously. And also my first stint as an entrepreneur to run business, which is very, very different from employee, right? You have a set of tasks you're being given that you have to perform, but it's very narrow. If you do your own thing, you have to do everything: accounting, marketing, sales, finance, operations. It's quite different, but it was fun, and I liked the teaching part of it. Once people gone through the course and you see the smile on their face and they thank you, and I love doing that. As well as in my job, I was, not very senior, but reasonably senior position. So I had a 20 people strong team in the end, whom I have to, also mentor and teach things and make them perform and all that. And so after I got retrenched, initially, of course, I was unhappy. I didn't have a big money problem because I got a compensation.
Right.
But, the thought of retirement attracts a lot of people. I was then basically retired, so to speak. I didn't do anything. But for me, honestly, it was horrible.
Really?
It was totally boring. I got depressed.
Right.
To the point I almost, I won't say it, but you can complete the sentence yourself. And I thought, cannot live another 30, 40 years like that, right? So that's why I started, I thought, what do I love doing? And what I love doing, as I just mentioned, was, teaching other people and mentoring them and all that, make them happy. And so that's why I decided to start a training business. I do a little bit of corporate training for corporations, and I predominantly focus on property investing, because that's the other thing. I've been investing in property for more than 25 years. And as you mentioned, we did also a bit more advanced course together, which I've then put into practice. And basically, within less than 2 years after leaving the bank, build up a passive income for myself that made me financially free, so I don't have to work anymore. And that's why I said it's the best thing that happened to me, because I had the sort of necessity to do it. I could have done it a lot earlier if I really had, but I didn't, because I had a job, I had a good income. So, but it was active income, right? Like I said, I sold my time for money, and I was comfortable with it, like most people are, right? You're comfortable, then you don't seek a change. But I was forced to do a change, and I love it in hindsight, because it enabled me to build up my portfolio of properties that gives me 5-digit monthly income for about half an hour of work.
Right. And you just mentioned, I didn't realize that, but you started this already a long time ago when you were still working, right? So
but not on a professional level. I just bought some property and, I just left it there. So I had some passive income, but it was not really all that much.
Right.
It was just a investment I did. And only after I left the bank, then I did it basically professionally, right? I look at property market every day, buy or look into where I can derive more income from for my investments. So I've become pretty good at it. And that's why I've turned it into a course to teach other people as well. As Tony Robbins says, and I always quote in my course also, right? If you want to become successful, all you need to do is to find somebody who is successful in that field that you're interested in, and just model him, copy what he's doing, right? You don't have to, be the next Mark Zuckerberg, to invent the next Facebook. You just do what works. Just do what works. And that's what I'm teaching people, what works, what it's not a theory. It's not something I heard about. It's something I actively do every day. And I just put it into a class and teach other people to do it. So, because I love teaching. So now I'm in a position where I don't have to work. I love to work. I love what I do what I love. And that's what I could not achieve with a job.
Yeah, I understand that. And maybe tell a little bit more about your training business. When did you start that? And, what are the kind of things you now do? What kind of courses? How many courses do you give a year? How many people do you train? Can you tell a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure, Erik. I do a little bit of corporate training to put my corporate experience from the past into practice, project management, finance, financial modeling specifically, business management and all those things. But that's sort of a side role. It's good also, but I don't do any marketing or sales for it. I just get the business somehow. I don't know how it even happens.
People know how to find you.
Yes, somehow they do. But my real focus is, because I love property, and property is also the thing that has made, I think about statistics, 80% of the people who are wealthy in this world have become wealthy through property in one way or another. There's many, many different ways how we can accomplish that. But it is somehow property related. So I love property, I love teaching, so I just put these two together into a property course that I'm teaching people now. I've started it about a year after I left the bank, so about 3 years ago by now. My classes are usually small, 5 to 15, I would say, people. To keep it a bit more personal, I don't like, 200 people in a room and with a microphone and there's no interaction. And I've been doing it for about 2 years in Singapore now. And I'm very excited that I had the opportunity to first time teach overseas last November in Myanmar. And actually today itself, I'm traveling to Hanoi, Vietnam, in order to speak at a conference to offer my class at it's called Financial Growth Summit event, where there's other speakers and myself that offer various passive income programs. And then I'll be teaching the class in Vietnam and later on in Malaysia, and I think end of the year in Thailand as well. So I'm expanding here in Asia to reach out to more people. And so I'm very excited about that. And for my mission, it makes it easier too. Firstly, I can reach out to more people. But secondly, in Singapore, you need quite a big income to be financially free because of the high cost of living. Right? You need probably at least $4,000 or $5,000 a month.
Yes.
Minimum if basic living, right? If you have kids and a nice lifestyle, maybe double that.
Right.
But in Vietnam, the average income is $200 a month. So all you need is one property that gives you a positive cash flow of $200. You're already financially free. So that's the amazing.
So the impact you could make to people there is quite high, of course. I mean, if you can teach them, like you said, you can teach them to build one investment property that gives them that kind of monthly return, they basically can live there. Yeah,
exactly. And they can still work, of course, but
sure,
they don't have to, right? Because they got the same income that they accomplish with 160 hours of work, with maybe 1 hour of work in property.
Yeah, and that is something that I'm also quite interested in. There are two ways to get financially free. One is you can make a lot more money, or you can reduce the amount of money you need to live. And a lot of people that get to the point of financial freedom, they've at some stage they've done both usually, right? They've sort of realized that, okay, either they move to a place where it's cheaper, or they have looked at their spendings and, they've gone from 2 cars to 1 car. Has that played a role in your life?
Well, you're absolutely spot on, Erik. These are the 2 ways to achieve that. I considered moving to a cheaper place, but Singapore was really expensive.
Right.
But I'm still okay. I've also done some measures here. Talk about reduction of living expenses. yes, you need to watch what you're spending, but there's a limit to that, right? You cannot reduce them to zero. You cannot, there's a limit how much you can reduce.
Yeah.
However, there's no limit how much you can scale your income up. It's not a get rich quick scheme, but it takes time. Depends how much money you have to invest or how much time you want to spend on it. But over several years, you can build up a good income that makes you financially free and keep going. And that's scalable. It's basically unlimited, right? How much can you reduce your living expenses? Maybe 30%, maybe 50%, I don't know. But eventually you cannot anymore.
Right.
But how many properties can I buy? 1, 2, 5, 10, 100, 1,000? Unlimited. Basically, right. All I have to find is the right opportunity and the right partners to work with and the money to finance it. But once you know how to do it, it's fairly easy. That's actually what stops most people dead in their tracks, as you probably know yourself too. They think, property expensive, can't afford it, I don't do it, and the thought dismissed. But it's a misconception. There's unlimited money in the world. You just gotta find it and convince people, to give you their money. Obviously not to cheat them, but to make them, better off. And then it's a win-win situation for both sides. I can make profit and they can make profit and everybody's happy. Right? So that's how it works.
So in your property training, because in my own experience, if you start something new, whether it's a podcast, whether it's interviewing, whether it's property investing, writing a book, the biggest step is to start doing it, right? So in your training, when you teach your mentees and the people that are in your training, how do you convince them and try to get them to make that first step and buy their first property?
What I teach in my class, and many other financial educators do that too, because it's absolutely correct. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether you teach e-commerce or options trading, stock investing. The thing that makes people not do it or do it unsuccessfully if they do it is 70% of it is not the methodology you use or what you invest in. It's simply your mindset.
Okay.
The mindset is the biggest contributor to whatever you do. Your job, your business, your investments, your property, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't have the right mindset, you're not going to do it, right? Mm-hmm. You procrastinate or you fear. People are afraid of risk. People, have hurt. You can lose money. Somebody who's very poor told them not to do it. And that's the reason why they're poor, because they don't do it. Right. So, and people listen to these kind of things. So what I focus on is not only to teach people the skills of how to find property, how to finance it, all this, which is obviously important too. But I put a strong emphasis also on mindset training. Yes. As well as psychology. So I have 2 modules. The first one is, before I even start to talk about property at all, I do mindset training, right? Because otherwise they might not even listen to the rest of the training. Yeah. To get them in the right mindset. And then at the end, I teach a module on psychology. That's basically how to overcome fear, right? Once fear is something that is not real. Fear is something you only have in your mind, that your mind tells you, don't do this, don't do this. The original intention of fear in your subconscious mind was to protect you from basically survival, right? So You don't jump down a cliff or into the burning house on fire, right? So survival. But unfortunately, your mind takes it too far and you are afraid of a lot of things. Some people are afraid of public speaking. Some people are afraid of dogs. Some people are afraid of water. Water doesn't harm you if you know how to swim. Right? Mm-hmm. and that's the same in investing. So if you know how to overcome the fear, and once you know the right process to be successful, that's what I'm teaching. It's not gambling. It's not, hope for the best. I know my investments will be successful, and that's what I'm teaching too, because of the process I'm using. And then if you know how to overcome your fear, to apply that process, then in all probability who will be successful. I never had any failure yet. Anybody who, at least those people who take action, they have not failed. Of course, I could say some people who go through the course like any other educator, they don't do anything afterwards. But those who do it, they don't fail because it works.
Right. I'm actually interested. So you've achieved this life now whereby from your properties, you're basically financially free. You make a good income every month. You now spend your energy on training because that's something you love. That's your mission. What are your goals for the next 5 to 10 years? What more do you want to achieve?
Well, firstly, of course, I work on my goal to make these 1,000 people financially free. I'm not sure what I can accomplish that in 5 years because I have to reach out to more people, and like I said, my class are a bit small, and after they start, it takes them a few years maybe to become financially free, so it might take 10 years or whatever. It doesn't really matter. There's no hard deadline attached to it. So that's my business goal. Then in terms of I think my personal goal is I support various charities quite big time in both money and time. So I give money to charity. I try to raise money for these charities as well. For example, by doubling up, if you give them $50, I will give them $50 also to incentivize people to help. As well as I teach in some of the charities to financial education to young children, and I'm starting also to teach very poor people financial education, because the reason why most people are poor is not that they are born poor. I was born poor also, by the way. I come from a poor family, single mother, 3 kids. We had enough to eat, but that's about it. Mm-hmm. And now I'm financially free, so it's not your background that you come from, it's your mindset, right? Poor people have a wrong mindset. They think it's meant to be this way. They don't do anything about it. But if you do something about it, you can achieve it. As many examples, including myself, or even more successful people like me. Look at the billionaires in Oprah Winfrey, Bill Gates. They're also not born with a silver spoon in their mouth, right? They did something to their life, and if you change your mindset and find the right method to do it, in my case it's property, there's other ways too, obviously, you just got to do it. And that's what I want to help to bring across to as many people as possible, because that gives me the personal satisfaction that I need, because just sitting at home counting money, as I mentioned earlier on in this interview, is boring, depressing, it's not fulfilling.
Yes.
So but helping other people I find very fulfilling. So that's what I'm on.
Yeah, there was a point that you mentioned this, and I want to ask a little bit about that, because I have a similar kind of experience at some point in my life where I also was in the situation of sitting at home, not really knowing what to do, have enough money to live, and then I was pretty confused about how to take a next step in my life and, make life interesting again. And you sort of touched on that. Can you explain a little bit about that period in your life when that happened and how you changed into taking action and starting to put yourself out there and contribute to the world?
Well, after I got retrenched from bank, and like I said, they gave me a package and I didn't have to worry. And but looking forward to retirement is not something I do. When people ask me now, when do you want to retire? I say never. Mm-hmm. I might not, do a lot, or I might not always, at least. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It's my choosing. But, I think a lot of people, including myself at the time, they don't really know what motivates them or what fulfills them. Mm-hmm. They live their life by default because they're being told, get a job, marry, save money, try to retire. Yeah. But it's kind of, if you just sit at home a week or 2 weeks, okay, it's nice, right? Finally, you don't have to go to work and all this, no pressure. But eventually, you do nothing and a whole lot of nothing, and all your friends are at work. It's I found it really boring to the extent it was almost depressing. And I mean, that's why I thought, you got to do something. And I did some soul searching. What do I like doing? What satisfies and fulfills me? And then I just did it, right? And then initially it was also difficult, right? If you don't have, I have zero experience in sales, for example, and the first 2-3 events that I had absolutely zero sales. People didn't want to sign up for my class because I didn't sell well, right? But you learn, and once people see what you're doing and you're confident about it and you're passionate about it, then they will come to you and allow them to help you to get out of their life by design and live your life the way you want it. I'm not saying stop your job or quit your business, right? I'm saying if you build up a source of additional passive income, then you have more choices to do what you want to do, not what you have to.
Yes.
And that's precisely what I did myself, and I help my students to accomplish now too.
Yeah, very cool. I sent you this question actually yesterday, and I was thinking this might be a nice one to ask you. So if you now, you're now further on in life, you've been colored by the struggle, and you've made your decisions, made your changes. But if you now would go back to your younger self, maybe when you were 20 or 18, when you were just getting started in working life, would you tell yourself something? Would you give an advice to yourself when at that point in time? So you go back and say, "Hey, Jochen, now you're 18. Let me tell you, the next couple of years, do this or look at this." What would you tell yourself?
Okay, first of all, if you do that, never regret. Never ever regret anything you have done or you haven't done. I still know this word, that it exists, but I have banned it from my dictionary otherwise. I don't do that. Right? And actually that's, apart from income, has changed my life very significantly. And it's absolutely free.
So it does the never regret part, does that also relate to making mistakes?
Yeah. You learn from them, fine, but you cannot undo it. So you have a choice, and it's not only regret. There's a few more I'll tell you in a moment.
Sure.
But you made a mistake, then you have a choice. You can either look at it positively or negatively. Right? It was a learning experience. I can make it better next time. Now I know what not to do. Fantastic. What is? Oh my God, I'm so stupid, and you push yourself down. But how does that help you? Right? It just evokes a lot of negativity and all that. It doesn't help you at all. So what I mentioned just now, what really also changed my life on a, I think, emotional level and relationship level, not financial, probably also had a positive impact on my finance too. But it was simply, I totally consciously banned and worked on it actively to ban things like regret, blame, hate, all these very negative things. I don't do it at all. Because if you have your mindset under control, if you can manage your emotions, and if a negative emotion comes up, it happens, right? You cannot avoid it. But I don't allow myself to be in that state any longer than 60 seconds.
Okay.
Somebody makes me angry. No, it's not true. It's always you make yourself angry by somebody else triggering something in you.
Yes.
But if you learn how to untrigger it and change back to positive, your life will change. It's amazing. And it's free, right? It's just the way you think or look at things.
Do you have a special way to do that?
What helped me to do that was I did some classes in NLP, New Linguistic Programming, for example, And one of my topics I really like other than property is psychology, right? And that helped me to manage my mindset. It has actually gone to the extent I can control my subconscious mind so well. It's basically just an order taker, right? It does whatever you have told it to do.
Yes.
But most people are not aware of what they have told to do, and that's why they act as they do. For the last 2 years, I've never used an alarm clock anymore.
Okay.
Right. So sometimes, of course, I can sleep in. I might get up at 8:30ish or so. But sometimes when I do training, I have to get up 7 a.m. to be at the training site, right? And it's not good if the trainer not around. I tell myself the night before, tomorrow, wake up at 7. I wake up at 7.
Wow.
I take an early flight. I have to get up 5:30 a.m. I tell myself, get up, wake up at 5:30. I don't set an alarm clock. I wake up at 5:30, plus minus 10 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you know how to control the subconscious mind, amazing things can happen. So I don't do regret, blaming, all this. But coming back to your question, Erik, if I could talk to my younger self, I don't regret anything I did. But what I would tell myself is simply, I should have done what I'm doing now 20 years ago already, and not spent 22 years of my life working for others.
Yeah. So is that also the message that you tell the younger people that you work with? You said you were also doing voluntary work with students and younger people. Is that the message you give them too?
The kids, not really. I think they might not really understand that yet. For them, it's very, very basic level. But the adults, yes. That's what exactly I tell them.
Start early.
Yeah, I mean, start now. Whatever you are. I mean, if you're 18, you cannot start at 16, and if you're 50, you cannot start at 48. But you don't have to wait now 10 years also, right? You can start today.
Yes.
So
yeah,
it's your choice.
Definitely. In the property business that you're running, what are some of the lessons that you learned there while you were doing it? So, I mean, I think you and I both are a bit the same in the sense that, I try to step into something and just start doing and then figuring it out later, making a lot of mistakes usually, losing money sometimes. That's basically my lesson, and that I tell that to myself a lot, that, don't wait, don't study too long, just go and figure out how to do something and then start. And then, pay the price by your mistakes, maybe. That's sort of my lessons. Is there any specific lessons that you've learned really from your property journey that you would like to share?
Well, luckily I didn't really lose a lot of money. Maybe sometimes I didn't make as much as I wanted to, but I mean, the process I do and I teach works, so you shouldn't lose a lot of money. But there's definitely a lot of lessons to learn, and also the environment changes. I mean, for example, 5 years ago, the banks were throwing money at you if you wanted to buy property, right? You could hardly escape them giving you money.
Yes.
Now it's become pretty difficult to raise finance from the banks. It's still possible, but you have to know how to talk to them. You have to know what they want to hear and say what they want to hear. And these things you have to learn over time, yeah. And I totally agree with you. I mean, a lot of people think, I gotta know everything first. I got perfect, and then I start. When will you start? Never, because it's never perfect. And so a lot of successful people, be in business, sports, politics, or investment, have in common is, as I sometimes quote, unsuccessful people, they always want to make the right decision. Therefore, often don't make any.
Right.
Successful people, they make their decisions right. They make a decision, stick to it, but if it doesn't work, they tweak it and go with it and, work it out and learn from mistakes, as you mentioned. So you shouldn't have the mindset knowing everything and then do it and then figure it out how to make it right.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely a value that you and I share, I think. Before I ask you my last question, I would love to get people to reach out to you. And if they're, interested by the stories you've told, or they're interested in your training programs or your books, how would you prefer them to get in touch with you? Sure.
Easiest probably via my website. It's a little bit long-ish name, but it's quite rationally explainable. It's professional property investment all in one word, so very long, but 3 normal English words, professional and property and investment, all in one word.com.
Okay.
And there's a contact button and all that. Or you can also just Google my name or my book. If you want to find me, my book is called The Property Apprentice, How to Earn While You Learn. It's available also in all major bookstores in Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, Brunei, as well as on Amazon.com.
I'll go around Indonesia and make some photos of bookstores. I haven't seen your book in the bookstores here. I keep looking for it. So when I find it, I'll send you the photos. Right. So I hope a lot of people get in touch with Jochen. He's a great guy. He's a good friend of mine. And, I think his trainings that he's doing is fantastic. I've got one last question for you, and then we close the interview. And my last question is, what does the word freedom mean to you?
Okay, Erik. Yeah, good question. For me, personally, I think other than integrity, freedom is my highest value. That's what I need. That's what I live by. It's money freedom. It's time freedom. It's, I cannot live without it. I mean, I love my time freedom now that I can do what I want to do, but also I think in a relationship, for example, luckily I have the right partner who gives me the freedom that I can do that. But if with somebody I was before who always, you can't do this, why doing this? It's not something that's for me. So for me, freedom is the air that I breathe, so to speak. And that's, I think, so I did the right thing. A lot of people are not even aware what is their values, because they never ask themselves, what do I really live for? What do I really want? They just go by default, right? Because nobody teach them, nobody taught them. So I think it's good you do this program, and you're writing a book. I hope and wish you that you can be very successful with that to reach out to more people as well. Great.
Jochen, I appreciate everything you do. I think you're, a great person, and I think you're making a big contribution to the world. Thank you so much for the interview.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Erik, and all the best, and have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Job Insanity Podcast. Please visit jobinsanity.com for more information and show notes.